The coffee cup slipped from her hands and shattered across the hospital floor, hot liquid spreading toward her shoes, but she didn't even feel it. Through the glass doors at the end of the hallway, she saw a small boy pressing his face to the window, clutching a cardboard sign with 3 crooked words written in blue marker. "Thank you, stranger." Her name wasn't on it, yet somehow she knew it was meant for her. Before I tell you how that moment happened and why it nearly broke her heart in the best way possible, take a second to subscribe to Kindness Teles, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. These stories only matter because people like you believe kindness still exists. Now let me take you back to the beginning. Every morning at 5:10 a.m., long before the sun rose over Cedar Grove, the lights flicked on inside a small yellow house at the end of Maple Street. The place was old and a little crooked, with peeling paint and a porch that creaked like it had opinions about everyone who stepped on it. Inside lived a woman named Ellie, 39 years old, with tired eyes and a laugh she rarely used anymore. She worked 2 jobs. The first started at 6, cleaning offices downtown before anyone else arrived. The second began at noon at the county hospital cafeteria, where she served coffee, refilled napkin holders, and memorized the way grief looked on strangers' faces. Her life ran like clockwork. Wake up. Coffee. Bus. Mop floors. Bus again. Hospital. Home. Sleep. Repeat. People assumed she was quiet because she was shy. The truth was simpler. She was just tired. 3 years earlier, her husband had died in a construction accident, leaving behind a stack of bills and a silence that never really went away. They'd planned to have kids. To move somewhere warmer. To plant a garden. After he was gone, those dreams felt too heavy to carry alone, so she folded them up and tucked them somewhere deep inside. At the hospital cafeteria, most people didn't see her. She was the lady behind the counter. The one who said, "Next in line." The one who wiped tables. But Ellie noticed everyone. She noticed the teenage girl who always ordered soup and never finished it, staring at her phone with red eyes. She noticed the older man who brought his own tea bag and just asked for hot water because he thought hospital tea was too expensive. She noticed the way families huddled together when doctors walked by, as if bracing for impact. And without thinking much about it, she started doing small things. She'd slip an extra cookie onto a child's tray. She'd pay for someone's coffee when they were digging for change. She'd write little notes on napkins that said things like, "You're doing great," or "One day at a time." Nothing big. Nothing heroic. Just quiet, ordinary kindness. One rainy Tuesday, close to closing time, a woman rushed up to the counter carrying a little boy wrapped in a Spider-Man blanket. His face was pale, eyes half closed, lips dry. The woman's hands shook so badly she could barely hold her wallet. "Can I just get some water?" she asked. "I forgot my card upstairs. I'll come back and pay." Ellie didn't even look at the register. She filled a cup with water and added a small carton of apple juice and a sandwich she'd made for herself. "It's okay," she said gently. "He looks like he needs it more than I do." The woman tried to argue, but her voice broke. "Thank you. He hasn't eaten all day. They've been running tests." The boy took the juice with both hands and gave Ellie a tiny smile that barely lasted a second. She watched them walk away and felt that familiar ache in her chest. The kind that comes when you care too much about people you don't even know. The next day, they came back. The woman looked even more exhausted. She explained that her son, Mateo, had a heart condition. They'd driven 3 hours from a small farming town because this hospital had the best specialist. Insurance covered some things, but not everything. Parking alone was eating their savings. Ellie nodded and listened. Really listened. She'd learned that sometimes people just needed someone to hold their fear for a moment. From then on, whenever she saw them, she'd quietly add something extra to their tray. A muffin. A yogurt. Once, a toy car she'd bought at the dollar store and kept in her apron pocket. Mateo started waiting for her. He'd tap the counter and whisper, "Hi, lunch lady," like it was a secret code between them. She pretended to be offended. "Lunch lady? I prefer cafeteria queen." He'd giggle, a thin, fragile sound, but still a giggle. Weeks passed. Tests turned into consultations. Consultations turned into talk of surgery. One evening, Ellie found the mother sitting alone at a table, staring at a stack of papers. "They want a deposit," she said quietly. "For the surgery. I don't know how we're supposed to. I mean, I already sold my car." She tried to smile, but it collapsed halfway. Ellie went home that night and couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the refrigerator hum and the wind pushing against the windows. She thought about her husband's old toolbox still sitting in the garage. About the small savings account she'd kept, just in case. Just in case what, though? She had no kids. No big plans anymore. Just days that blended into each other. The next morning, she walked into the bank before her shift and withdrew almost everything. It wasn't a fortune. It wouldn't change the world. But it was more than she'd ever spent on anything at once. At the hospital billing desk, she asked if she could make an anonymous payment toward a child named Matteo. The clerk looked surprised but nodded. Ellie wrote the check with trembling hands. Afterward, she felt both lighter and terrified. Like she'd jumped into deep water without knowing how to swim. For the next few days, she avoided the family. She didn't want thanks. She didn't want attention. She just wanted the boy to be okay. Then came the morning of the surgery. The cafeteria was quiet. Rain tapped against the windows. Everything smelled like burnt toast and disinfectant. She kept checking the clock, even though she had no idea how long heart surgeries took. Around noon, a nurse rushed in and grabbed coffee. Ellie's heart pounded so loudly she almost couldn't hear herself speak. "Is the little boy?" "Matteo, how is he?" she asked. The nurse smiled. "He's doing great. Surgery went better than expected." Ellie had to grip the counter to steady herself. Her knees felt weak, like they might fold. She turned away so no one would see the tears. Later that afternoon, while mopping near the hallway that led to pediatrics, she heard footsteps running. Then a small voice calling out, "Wait! Wait!" She looked up. Matteo stood there, pale but smiling, one arm in a sling of tubes and tape, his mother behind him, holding him carefully. In his hands was that crooked cardboard sign. "Thank you, stranger," it said. His mom explained through tears that someone had paid the deposit. The hospital wouldn't say who, but they had their guesses. "We asked around," she said softly. "Everyone kept saying, maybe the lady from the cafeteria. You're the only one who's been there for us." Ellie tried to deny it, but Matteo stepped forward and wrapped his tiny arms around her waist. She dropped her coffee. Hot liquid spread across the floor, but she didn't care. No one had hugged her like that in years. Not since before everything fell apart. In that moment, she realized something she hadn't understood before. She thought she'd been helping them. But somehow, they'd saved her too. Because for the first time in a long while, her house didn't feel so empty. Her days didn't feel so pointless. She wasn't just surviving. She mattered. Months later, Matteo mailed her a drawing of the two of them. He'd drawn her with a crown and labeled it, Cafeteria Queen. It stayed taped to her fridge. She still woke up at 5:10 a.m. She still cleaned offices and served coffee. But now she kept a jar by the register labeled, Kindness Fund. Patients and staff started dropping in spare change. Then dollars. Then 20s. Every time it filled up, she used it to help someone who looked like they were drowning. A meal. A bus ticket. A parking pass. Nothing big. Just enough to say, you're not alone. And that's the funny thing about kindness. It rarely looks dramatic. It doesn't come with music or applause. Most days, it's just a tired woman handing a sandwich to a scared mother, or a little boy holding up a wobbly sign in a hospital hallway. But those tiny moments ripple outward in ways we can't see. Years later, people at that hospital still talk about the cafeteria queen who somehow always knew when someone needed help. And every time Ellie tells the story, she smiles and says she didn't do anything special. She just treated strangers the way she wished someone had treated her when her world fell apart. Maybe that's all kindness really is. Not grand gestures. Just showing up. Paying attention. Offering what you can, even if it feels small. So tonight, if you see someone who looks tired or scared or alone, maybe hold the door a little longer. Buy that extra coffee. Write that note. You never know whose life you might change, or whose hug might end up saving yours. If this story touched you, share it in the comments and tell us about a moment when someone's kindness surprised you. Because the world needs more of those stories, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be someone else's "thank you, stranger."